I called myself a communist when I was in the 7th grade. So trust and believe I have done my homework. In the first part of this series, I talked about why capitalism fails. Today, I want to talk about why communism fails. I have 3 primary reasons why communism fails. And these first 2 reasons are actually things that communism has in common with capitalism. In the first part of this series, I discussed how capitalism assumes that humans will always make the choice that is best for them. They will accumulate capital, they will protect their profits, they will not squander their money. Communism makes the exact same assumption. People who call themselves communists assume that if you present the option of a world to somebody where material conditions such as poverty or famine are totally eradicated, then those people will choose that world every single time. This is not the case. In the same way that it is a complete falsehood that under capitalism, humans will always choose to make the best decision for their capital, for their livelihood, their profit, so too is it true that under communism, people will not always make the choice to protect their labor. There is a foundational assumption that humans are rational agents in both capitalism as an economic theory and communism. If we don't acknowledge that, we will be chasing our tails for centuries. There is a long history of political and philosophical thought in that phrase, the end of history. But the basic idea is that humans will eventually reach a point where they have perfected the system of economic and political organization that they give themselves. Francis Fukuyama, a political theorist, said in the 1990s, we have reached this so-called end of history, and the form that we have adopted is neoliberal capitalism. It might not be the best system in the world, he says, but it's the best that we can do. This assumption that capitalism represents the end of history is the exact same assumption that communism has for itself. Think about these things that you've heard about late-stage capitalism, the movement through socialism, and then finally communism. Do you know where both capitalism and communism get their idea? Christianity. Capitalism has a foundation in Protestantism. We know that from Max Weber. But what often goes unacknowledged is that communism has the exact same assumption, that it is the final stage in the progression of the development of human history. There is nothing more false than that. There is no such thing as an end of history. It is a flawed idea in and of itself. It goes against the very dynamic nature of humanity. And as such, both capitalism and communism as theories do not fully accommodate the human experience. Communism, in its foundation, does not have a sufficient enough focus on what is the deep truth about humanity in order to help break us free from capitalism. Humans are essentially imaginative and innovative creatures. There are great examples in both fiction and philosophical theory of people trying to find space within communism as both a theory and a lived experience, trying to find space for the actual human experience of life. Herbert Marcuse's The Aesthetic Dimension. Marcuse was a communist thinker, but he understood humanity well enough to say, aesthetics and communism do not seem to be lining up. How can we understand these two things in tandem? And in writing The Aesthetic Dimension, he does amazing work of finding space for the sublime experience that is possible for human beings in art and applying that to communist thinking. The second thing is a book of fiction called To Live by the Chinese writer Yu Hua. To Live is a wonderful book that follows the journey of a man through the course of his life as he sees the rise of the People's Republic of China. Communism fails radically. And if it upsets you to hear me say that, you need to break down what your thinking on the topic is and understand that if you truly want to help humanity, greater imagination, both politically and humanly, is necessary. Without that depth of creativity, we will find ourselves stuck in the exact same cycles that we have been in for God knows how many centuries. My name is Andrew Tai, world famous poet superstar, and I'm gonna challenge you because I will always love you. Mwah.